Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Rhonda, and I am one of those driver recruiters at Schneider. Today, I'm joined with Justin, and we are here to talk about how many cents per mile does Schneider pay. Big question, very big
Popular.
topic,
That's
right?
You drive to get the money
Exactly.
to pay the bills.
Yep. So I think, really, also we're live as always. So if you have questions, please let us know. We'll do our best to get to them while we are live. Keep them coming in, and we'll get to them as quickly as possible. But we really just want to talk about a lot of the major topics that we get questions on a daily basis about pay. So Justin, I think maybe one of the newest changes for us, as far as how drivers are paid, would be our change from going from Home Movers Guide or HHMG to Practical Miles.
Yeah.
So maybe explain briefly, like an overview of why we decided to do that, or that kind of thing.
Yeah. So the HHMG was kind of the standard for a long time, since like the 70s, and now we're using the Practical Miles. So it's a kind of a little bit outdated. It was using freeways, that kind of stuff, just basically looking at mileage that could be driven, but not the route you would drive. It's not using always the easiest route or the most practical one, like the Practical Miles would be. And a big reason that Schneider did this was because the drivers were actually talking about it and asking for it. So they really wanted that change, and Schneider listened, and now we're on the Practical Miles one, which usually ends up being a little bit more mileage for the drivers and a little bit easier of a drive as well.
Right. It's from what I understand, and the way that that we were taught over the years that I've been here, is that the Home Movers Guide really was to get from point A to point B in the shortest amount of miles. So drivers were constantly asking us to update to that Practical Miles to because not always does it give them more miles, but as a general rule, they'll come out ahead that way versus using the old standard.
Yes.
So I think it's really nice. One of the things I like about it is that it comes from our operations and upper level management, listening to the drivers.
Yeah.
One of the things I think we've really been focusing on over the years is really is driver retention, and really just wanting to listen to the things that make life easier for our drivers. So as we get into talking about about this, the Practical Mileage really just focuses on the need of the drivers, emphasizing those routes that are best for them, which it can in turn help them get more loads, especially if they're on, some of those accounts that we have that do pay for activity.
Yeah.
So we're going to take them on the routes that are the best for them, get them where they're going, and maybe be able to get a few more loads and everything in addition to paying those miles in a more practical manner.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you had said, the cents per mile isn't always the only pay that comes with this.
Right.
So a lot of times we're seeing drivers focus on the cents per mile, and some of our positions don't have that super high cents per mile because there are a lot of other pays. For instance, we have some that have a lot of loading and unloading. So if that's one that you like to stay active during it, they offer that chance so you're not just driving. They also have additional pay for that. Or we have per load pay. So if you're doing a lot of loads with a lot of like our intermodal positions, that's going to come into play. Detention pay. So if you're waiting for instance, some of them that they're being unloaded by the store employees or at the distribution center, and you're kind of waiting there, you get paid for that because we don't want you to just sit there not driving and then not getting paid.
Right. And that's got a dual purpose. Our customers are aware of the detention pay, and a lot of times it's written into our load that that is going to go back towards them, and it encourages them to get our drivers moving. Nobody's making money if they're sitting.
Yeah.
Not the driver, not the company, not even the end customer. So that's a dual purpose reason that we do that detention. So they have a certain window of time to get those drivers in and out of there. And if the drivers are on time based on when they said they would be on their trip planning and logging, that starts for them after, and in most of our situations, it's after 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then it's an hourly rate, and it is broken down, which is even nicer, in a quarterly manner. So every 15 minutes, they're accruing something. So they don't have to be there for 3 hours to get anything.
Yeah.
2 hours and 15 minutes can get them
You're
an
gonna
extra
get them.
additional amount.
Yep.
One of the things, I think that in talking about, some of the different things, variables that can impact pay, just stuff that we don't, that we can't, we're not apples to apples.
Yes.
Okay. So you were talking about the different lines of businesses.
Yes.
And with that, it's really, really nice about it is that, we pay our drivers based on experience. No two carriers pay the same. You're not going to be able to say, well, XYZ carrier offered me this. Yes, but there's all those, like, how many miles are you going to get every week? How frequent, how reliable is the freight that they're carrying?
Yeah.
I can offer you $1 an hour, but if you're only getting 1,000 miles a week, and then you're like that, it's not going to be really any that beneficial, I guess is a good way to put that. And we do pay our drivers based on experience. We do give increases over the first year for our drivers. And you were talking about those different accounts. Like some of our accounts, their accessorial pay is, 25, 30% of their paycheck a week.
Yeah.
So you can't just say, what's my cents per mile?
Yeah.
We have a lot of different ways.
Yeah, like an overall pay. And we are live, so we actually do have a few questions that we wanted to get to here. We have one from Jason on what's the process in coming in with new CDL license. So we actually make it really good, and that's we brought it up a little bit with that first year of pay. Coming in with a new CDL, you're going to come through a orientation and training process, kind of like all of our new drivers. It is going to be a little bit longer for a new driver with a new CDL. Then right out of the gate, you're going to start making that money with the mileage, and that goes up. Generally, we see at about 3 months, and again at 6 months, and then at a year, you really hit that full stride of a really decent pay as far as either cents per mile or, increasing with that load pay or the other accessorial pays that come with that.
Yeah, most definitely. I think, that's one of the things that I like with the new driver aspect is that we're not just saying, oh, this is where you're going to be, because they're gaining that experience over that first year is a really big difference from a brand new driver to a 1-year driver.
Yeah.
And we're compensating them as they go along. So that's always a good thing.
Yeah. Another question we have is, do you get a new truck when you come out of training? We do try and rotate our trucks to keep them pretty new. I believe average we're at about 2 years old right now. Our more experienced drivers are going to be the first ones to get those brand new trucks that we get with, all of the newest equipment and technology. But we do keep them pretty regularly rotated and well maintained because, like we said, you're not going to get any miles, you're not making money if you're not driving. And if your truck's breaking down all the time, you're not going to be driving at all.
Right.
So we don't want you sitting in the garage waiting for that to get updated and fixed. Well, we can just rotate that out and maintain new, really good equipment.
Right. And this 2021 has been a huge push for new equipment. We've traded in and gained equipment this year more so than any other year that I can think of since the 7 years I've been here.
Yeah.
Really every time that we have like our town hall meetings, we hear about how they are pushing to get trucks in the door as fast as possible to get them traded out. They want to get that under 2 years for an average age, which I think is great because you look at, and like you said, the 24-hour roadside maintenance and everything. So no, you may not get a brand new truck. The other thing I always say, a lot of it has to do with, if you're going onto a dedicated account or you're, where it's what they have available. I do know some of my drivers have gotten a brand new truck. And not necessarily be those 10-year drivers. It really does have something to do with that. They do. We're trying to do all of the different things we can to leave everyone. Our push is to make it so that all of our drivers have good, safe, updated equipment as quickly as possible. So that's kind of the other thing too. One of the things I think I've heard, too, in the pay packages. Just like with our jobs or, anybody else's, is that it is based on where you live. The cost of living has a lot to do with that pay. So I feel like, I have a friend who lives in California and I live in Iowa. Is not a good way to compare what they're making compared to you, because we all know the cost of living in California is a lot higher than other places. And, I have family in Iowa. I know the cost of living in Iowa is pretty low.
Yeah.
So that what they can buy everyday items for compared to what even we do here in Green Bay. So I think taking that into consideration when you're talking to your driver recruiters or your recruiting specialists, understanding that their pay they're talking about is specific to your area and the cost of living and the average truck driver pay in your area is a big thing to keep in mind.
Yeah. Another question that we have that we get is about intermodal and tanker options that we have available. So those ones are kind of a big one that come in with the cents per mile and stuff like that. So we do have a lot of those available, especially if you're looking out east. We have a lot of the tanker and intermodal positions available, and those are going to be the big ones that have that accessorial pay that comes in with it. Where you're looking at 25, 30, even 40% on some of those accounts. You're looking at the load pay, the hazmat pay with the tankers, that kind of stuff.
Unload and load pay for
tankers,
and really, I see all kinds of home time with that too. So really your pay does have something to do with that as well. So this is a huge, I think I started this out with, this is a topic we could probably talk about forever, about all the variables and different factors that do come into that. Even like, the team drivers, a lot of companies is they split the pay right down the middle. So Justin could have, 10 years of experience and I'm brand new out of school and he's making the same cents per mile as I am. And it sounds really good because I'm getting paid for 6,000 miles a week, but I have no experience and he has all this experience and I'm making the same cents per mile as it. Schneider pays for experience. So instead of splitting the miles or splitting the pay, we split the miles. So if you're doing 6,000 miles, each of us are going to get paid 3,000 miles and his cents per mile is going to reflect his level of experience and mine's going to reflect mine. I think that is a critical thing, for drivers to be able to still make what they're valued at as far as how long they've been driving.
Yeah, we see that a lot with, especially, I see it a lot with couples coming in. One person has been driving for 10, 12, 20 years even, and now the other one's looking for a change in career, or they both retired and they want to come, drive. So that way we have, that 10-year driver who's been driving and has that experience is really making what they've earned throughout the years, and that new one coming in is just starting up and really gaining that experience to get that pay higher up.
Right. So did you have more questions for us before we?
Another question we have is, I haven't drove since 2014, but I have a CDL and I was trained by Schneider way back in 2002. What are the odds of getting back with Schneider? Call us. Yeah, pretty good. we're always looking for drivers, especially someone that we trained.
Exactly. And if you still have your license, we go back, for your pay for 10 years. So we could, most likely be able to get you some pay credit for the time that you did drive. And you'll still be able to go through our, our experience training, and our trainers will work with you on an individual basis on any of those skills you got rusty with, or changes that have happened since you've been out of the truck. So definitely schneiderjobs.com, get an application in or call into our recruiting specialist and get the process going. We're more happy to have you back on board, that's for sure.
Yeah, we have a question here about training then. Do the TEs always sleep in the truck with the trainee during orientation? We get that question a lot. Generally how it works is when you're out on the road during that orientation, you'll be sleeping in that truck just to kind of get that experience, really get the feel for what it's going to be like out on that road. Generally, the TEs are going to be staying in a hotel or at one of our locations, but you'll be in the truck for that.
Yeah.
So you won't have to worry about sharing the truck and sleeping in there with that TE.
Right. One of the things that I have heard recently from a couple of our operating centers is that with the, pandemic and everything going on, there has been a little bit of a somewhat tweak to that. I don't think it's standard out there, but there may be some people asking this question because they've heard different stories. In what I've been told is that a lot of times it is now up to the training engineer whether or not he wants somebody else sleeping in his space or her space. So one of you will be sleeping in the hotel, one of you will be sleeping in the truck. General rule has always been that we want the new driver to do it so that they're getting that truck time. But with everything going on, we have kind of made some adjustments to that. So mainly plan on sleeping in the truck. But if the the training engineer has, said that he or she would prefer not to with the situation, then that is kind of the direction I've been told that they've been allowed to do it that way as well.
Awesome, perfect.
Yeah. So nothing that's like process change,
Yeah.
just a kind of trying to, again, do the right thing for our drivers.
Mm-hmm.
I think, were you asking something else too?
That's all the live questions we have. Again, we are live, so if anything does come up, feel free to give us a call. We talked about team driving coming on board here, new drivers coming on. And I think one of the big things that we have for new drivers that we haven't touched on yet is the guaranteed pay that we have on a lot of our positions.
Yes, we definitely, especially van truckload, regional, tanker, intermodal. A lot of those accounts for not necessarily the dedicated accounts,
Mhm.
like for our customers, but a lot of our van truckload division and things like that. They definitely were offering anywhere from 900 to, I think in some cases 1,600.
Yes, we do have some team positions
that are
1,600 guaranteed a week for the first 4, 5, 6 months that you're on board with us.
What I think is really great about that is the safety factor.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of drivers come in and they are pushing to get those max miles and doing, all of that. This is giving them that security of knowing what their pay is the gross pay is going to be over that period of time, so they can focus on learning the job and learning the ropes and where the stops are and where the gas, the truck stops and where they're going to fuel and all of those things without having to worry about, I need to get more miles, because they're trying to budget to a certain amount. I think another big topic when you talk about Schneider Pan, I think I've probably mentioned this in a couple of the other videos that I've done. You're the captain of your ship.
Yeah.
If you want the miles and you've got the drive and the dedication to do it, we got them for you. If you're listening to the news, you're listening to the radio, we need drivers. The country needs drivers.
Yeah.
Give us a try. We've got great programs available. This is a side topic, apprenticeship programs, company sponsored programs. If you're thinking about getting into the trucking career, now's a fantastic time to do that. We'd love to talk to you about that. 1-800-44-PRIDE. You can just get an application in on schneiderjobs.com, but definitely, I used to have a fleet of drivers under me, and I had drivers on my account that would take their 10-hour break, and I would have to call them after 12 or 13 hours and say, are you going to drive today? And then when their paychecks came and they only had 1,400 miles, they wanted to know why.
Yeah.
So when I said that, the desire that you have to make the money and get the miles is going to be there. But you also have to realize that it is on your shoulders too. It's performance that does that as well. So making sure that you are keeping your logs up to date so they know when you're ready for your next load, that you're communicating issues, that you're doing good post trips and pre trips to make sure your truck's in running order so you're not breaking down on the side of the road.
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors that go into those drivers that are able to get 500-600 miles a day, and that equals a bigger paycheck.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely a huge thing.
Right. And I think, speaking of performance pay, did we talk about that
we did
yet?
Not yet. Yeah. So we do have a performance pay that comes in. It's evaluated on a quarterly basis, I believe. And that is based on your safety, efficiency, and productivity. So if you are driving, you're not getting any preventable accidents, you're on time every day, you're showing up from your home time on time, you're going to get up to an extra 4 cents per mile for free, basically, with
for
any
doing
position.
your job.
Yeah, exactly. So that 4 cents per mile, it doesn't always sound like a lot, but when you're running, 400, 500, 600 miles a day, getting 2,500 miles a week, that really adds up, and that can be a huge bonus onto your paycheck.
Right. And in addition, I don't know if we have talked about it or if we thought about putting that in here, but we've talked about the guaranteed pay. Well, we've also had some huge overall cents per mile driver increases lately. So if you haven't checked out what we have available lately, I'd say, log on, see what it is. A lot of our accounts have recently done some paid rate increases. Some of them kind of pretty significant. Obviously,
Yeah.
can't talk details about that, but give us a call, and we'd be happy to discuss those with you. We do on SchneiderJobs.com. We do tell you what the average weekly earnings, and that would be a gross, so before taxes. So you can kind of take a look at what you can expect in that space as well. Definitely, I think the big overall, thing that we're talking about, the loading and unloading pay, the stop pay, we have some accounts where there's, 3 to 7 stops on a load, and each one of those stops is more money. All of those things. I think the big factor comes down to, you can't just say how many cents per mile does Schneider pay. You need to ask us about the total pay package, about our benefits, about our increases, our automatic annual. They get paid days off after 6 months now, and a lot of it. So really, just if you haven't checked in with us lately, I would strongly encourage you to do so. We'd be happy to kind of go over all of these things with you. Our recruiting specialists are always available. Once you get an application in, you'll get even more information from the hiring recruiter that you speak with. So I really think that a lot of it is really we're just waiting for these drivers to come and see what we have to offer them these days.
Yeah, exactly. So, yep. Yeah, kind of wrapping up here. If you guys did have any other questions, you are more than welcome to give us a call. Like Rhonda said, we're at 1-800-44-PRIDE. Or you can go online to SchneiderJobs.com, fill out an application. Like you said, their average pay is on there, but if you do want more details, more than welcome to give us a call. We'd be happy to go over that with you. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to give us a call, comment on the video. We'll be taking a look afterwards to answer those questions and any of the other ones that we might not have gotten to while we're on here. But I think we are all set today, unless you have any else.
I don't. I mean, like I said, there's lots of, we have a lot of benefits. We didn't get into, really get into any of that with you, but there's tons of benefits besides the vacation pay and the, pay time off, the health, dental, 401k, all of those things. So it's a total pay package that you want to talk to us about, and we'll be